Konnichiwa, bitches.
Alright, welcome to another episode of the CineBeards.
The CineBeards.
The CineBeards.
Oh, I thought it was just CineBeards.
I'm your host, Jason Musicanth.
Hi, Jason.
That also is Dion van Heerden.
Hi.
And that's Marcus.
Hi, I'm Marcus.
That's a great impression of me.
games. In case you're wondering, that was actually me. I wasn't Marcus. He's really good with voices.
He's
I'm
really
here
good.
looking at them, and I still did not know that wasn't Marcus.
Like, Dion's a really good impersonator.
Yeah.
So this week we're going to talk about the influence that Japanese cinema has had on Western cinema.
Japanese cinema influencing Western cinema?
Yeah.
But how?
There are several ways, Dion.
Oh, do tell.
And they all come back to Akira Kurosawa.
You can't rule out Ozu.
Yeah, no, I know I can't, but the public opinion answer is it's all Akira Kurosawa.
Well, yeah, he's probably one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, if not the greatest filmmaker of all time. Like,
Just in general. I'm getting a look from Dion like he's not familiar with some of Kurosawa's works.
Oh, tell me more.
So
Have you seen... you probably haven't seen any of these, but they are all very influential. Hidden Fortress. Actually, I'm just going to throw out...
I've played Team Fortress.
I'm just going to throw out
care
a
for
movie
it.
that he made, and Jason, because he knows as much as I do on this, he'll throw out
I don't
one
know if I
of the
do.
Western movies that it was based on.
All right.
Well, no, that were based on it.
Yeah, they were based on it.
Ayo! Too late.
You're like, oh no! It's Western cinema that's done the influencing.
So, I'll start off with, I don't know, Seven Samurai. Let's start there.
The obvious answer there is Magnificent Seven.
Now, you've seen that. Okay. Yojimbo. Yojimbo, I believe is the correct...
Jimbo.
I've not only seen that, I wrote the soundtrack for a game pastiche of it.
No.
The answer you're looking for is A Fistful of Dollars.
That's exactly the one I was actually looking for. That's the name I was
know.
looking for in my head.
I know.
So, yeah, Fistful of Dollars for that one. And then,
And then, obviously, Hidden Fortress, which we all know more as.
oh boy, what could this be? Dion?
Team Fortress.
No, Star Wars.
No, Star Wars is Lion King.
No. You're getting confused now. Lion King was ripped off from Kimba the White Lion, which was a Korean animated film.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
You guys need to keep up.
Yeah.
It's a hip-hop world.
Alright, what else has he done? Because I've actually seen 2 of those 3, so
And-
I'm happy with myself here.
Rashomon.
And Rashomon,
Which the Western version is?
the Western versions, like the way Rashomon is different in that it created a technique that is prevalent in cinema to this day still.
Filming with a camera.
No, whereby you tell one story from different viewpoints. That's Rashomon. That was the first film to do that.
Jeez.
So any movie...
and with the bias of each of those viewpoints, like, very much included.
Yeah. Like, a good example, even though it's not Western, Hero. Remember, where with the color coding and everyone's viewpoint, that's based on the storytelling method of Rashomon.
Or, more recently and more personal to Dion, the little flashback bits in The Last Jedi.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
That's
okay. I
peak
thought you were going to
Rashomon.
say Geostorm.
Can't keep going back to that Geostorm world, Dion. But we will. Until it's dry.
So it could be argued that Western genre filmmaking, as it exists, wouldn't exist without Kurosawa's influence. He influenced the Western, he's influenced action films, fantasy films, adventure films, even horror. Like some of his earlier works and some of his late career works were very horror-centric.
Yeah.
Got to see that.
Like he made something ridiculous like 30 films during his 59-year career.
Yeah, but it was only really after the American occupation of Japan ended that he was really able to make the movies that actually got him where he needed to be.
Yes.
The so-called golden age of Japanese cinema.
Yeah.
Because he obviously, when the Americans were there, he was scared they might copy some of his ideas, so he waited until they were gone. All right, it's safe now.
Yeah, but like when the Americans were there, obviously heavy censorship, nothing with samurai or anything glorifying Japanese culture in it.
Yeah.
And before that, it was war times. The Japanese were like, nothing any kind of Western centric. We need to paint them out to be the bad guys. Give us some good propaganda. So he wasn't really able to do the kind of filmmaking around it, because he was actually like in almost a cyclical manner. He was influenced by a lot of the American westerns and stuff like that. So his films were always considered by the Japanese to be far more Western than anything that had come before them.
Yeah.
I think one movie in particular, I can't remember the name of it, but he tried to release it during the war, and the Japanese government told him it was far too Western. And then when Japan was still American occupied, he tried to release it, and they were like, no, that's far too Japanese.
So he was in this weird liminal space.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So he released that like a few years after the occupation. But yeah, it was.
I believe
it
that
from,
was
like
Stray Dog.
Yeah, Stray Dog. That's the one. Yeah. So from about the 50s onward was like just the golden age of Japanese cinema. Where
And-
there's just pretty much everything that was coming out of there was outstanding.
Including which
Oh shit, we forgot to put at the head of this episode actually.
what?
that we're discussing this because of
Oh, we're
Pacific
discussing
Rim.
the shit movies coming out that may be influenced by some anime. There, we said it. Pacific Rim Uprising is coming out this week, hence
That's
this
why
episode.
we're talking about these things.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
speaking of Pacific Rim and the 50s, the Kaiju movie.
Yeah, 1954 saw the release of Godzilla. Godzilla and actually Seven Samurai, both released by Toho Studios in
Yes.
In the same year.
same
Yep,
year.
That's quite a year.
And both of them were actually nominated for Best Picture.
Holy shit.
Godzilla was nominated for Best Picture. How
That's
cool is that?
glorious.
Seven Samurai obviously ended up winning. But, yeah.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah.
And that obviously had a huge influence on the filmmaking of the country Sierra Leone.
No, I believe...
That's the country that made all those Clint Eastwood westerns, right?
You're thinking of Sergio Leone.
No, it's Sierra Leone.
No,
I've
it's-
seen that on a map.
it's-
Laos.
I'm not sure how you say this. Senegal? Just gonna leave it there.
Okay, so yeah, it had an influence on that, but more than that, more than the actual works influencing Western cinema, a lot of the style of Japanese
Yes.
filmmaking, like Ozu has this this shot that he always uses that's referred to as the tatami shot. What?
It's gonna be the three Marines back to back coming out of water.
You're close. It's when there's a long pan that spins around your protagonist as they slowly stand into frame.
Sorry, carry on.
No, he's got the tatami shot, which was like a low shot that he used, and in Western filmmaking at the time, that was just, like often used to make characters look more imposing, more important.
Are you
mean a
just
high
talking
angle?
about the hero shot as we know it today?
Well, low angle shot, heroes like standing, you're like close to ground level, so
Yeah.
you're looking up.
That's a high angle shot.
Yeah, but I don't know these technical terms. But yeah, so he used that shot there mostly because, you know, it's a very Japanese perspective, because they're always
Deifying their heroes.
used to their seated position being on the tatami mat, hence the name, the tatami shot. So it from that side, it made it more personal. Like his most famous work, Tokyo Story, hailed as one of the best movies of all time. very heavily uses that tatami shot and makes it feel all very personal, because throughout that movie, characters that you're seeing on screen are sitting on the tatami mats themselves. So you're feeling like you're a part of this thing. And then that kind of thing that is the hero shot as we know became very much used in Western cinema as well. Same thing with Kurosawa's motion that he uses in his shots,
Yes.
where he like blends several different kinds of motion together in one shot.
Yeah. And the long pan over an action scene, that was Kurosawa.
So it's
He did that. One of the ones which was most famous for, I believe it was in Seven Samurai, where they had the camera,
bandits coming over the hills.
the bandits coming over the hills, where he wanted this panning shot, but it was too hard to accomplish because of the terrain. So what they did was they put the camera at its maximum zoom level and then just like tilted it like by hand to sort of get that panning shot, and then it came out so smooth and so incredible that no one believed or could figure out how they actually did it at the time.
Weirdly enough, they actually recreated it in Phantom Menace or Attack the Clones. Which one was it?
Probably
One of the prequels
Attack of the
where
Clones.
the droid army is also coming over the hill. It's like a shot-for-shot remake of the bandits coming
No, that
over
was
the hill.
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace.
Yeah, that was with their assault on Naboo
Yes, yeah. Yeah, Phantom Menace.
with the hills.
But Jason, is that the only influence Japanese cinema has had on something like Star Wars?
No, we told you earlier, Dion.
Star Wars is
I'm a
basically
straight man
Hidden
here,
Fortress.
damn it!
Yeah, no, Star Wars is mostly Hidden Fortress, which, I mean, Lucas took the whole, from the lower classes perspective, that movie used, where you follow the two peasants through the, Hidden Fortress, I guess. He
The two
basically,
peasants being the droids in Star Wars.
yeah, there we go. He basically just turned them into R2D2 and C3PO. But yeah, there's a lot of Hidden Fortress that's pretty much just copied one for one into A New Hope.
But remember, that's not copying. That's a homage.
Well,
Wink, wink.
well, yeah, it is, I guess, because he's not the only filmmaker to have done that with Kurosawa's work.
Yeah.
I mean,
You can see
you can put him in the same boat in that regard as, say, Steven Spielberg. So it's
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think when you have that many things directly lifted from other sources, I start feeling a little uneasy saying homage.
You don't lift it from one source. You lift it from many.
Yeah, that's when homage starts feeling a little.
I mean,
little
Kurosawa is
generous.
just the most prolific Japanese source of inspiration on Western cinema. I mean, if you go into, I'm just going to shift gears here now.
Yeah.
If you look at dystopian sci-fi, through the Western lens, none of that would exist had Akira not been released. Akira was a seminal and manga and anime that influenced tons of sci-fi filmmakers that are active to this day. The Matrix wouldn't be what it was without Akira.
And Ghost in the Shell.
And Ghost in the Shell, but Ghost in the Shell came later, like
Yeah.
mid-90s,
95, yeah.
95. So that in turn influenced
When did Akira come out?
1988.
Yeah.
That was pre-Disney Renaissance.
Yeah, but,
which we'll get
but the
to.
Wachowskis are very, very upfront about those
Very
being
upfront.
their influences.
And it's not just them. I mean, without, but here's where it gets almost cyclic, because in reading like articles and interviews, Akira wouldn't have been what it was had it not been for Blade Runner.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
actually just about to look that up.
So
Yeah, it all seems to be this cyclical kind of thing. Like
stealing
Kurosawa,
from each other.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
Kurosawa influenced by westerns, then making films that then influence westerns.
Yeah.
Yeah, that influenced westerns and westerners.
Yeah. Hey.
And the
Yeah,
same
so-
thing happened with Akira. And if the same thing happened with anime, early anime like Astro Boy, heavily influenced by the old Walt Disney and Max Fleischer style of animation, with the exaggerated eyes and all of that. Then anime moved forward at such a fast pace and started influencing Western animation again.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually just thinking about it, Chronicle is basically just Akira.
Yeah, Chronicle is Akira.
Yeah. pretty much. That Max Landis.
I mean, as basically all modern sci-fi has to pay its dues to, or modern, I want to say cyberpunk. Yeah, cyberpunk specifically as a subgenre would not have the visual language it does without Blade Runner and Akira. Because Blade Runner set up this sort of vague idea of what it would look like, the neons and the blending of cultures and everything. Akira went and refined that look, I find. Akira's a very refined version of that dystopian cyberpunk future. And with all the lights, I love that movie. So beautiful. But anyway, that in turn, Altered Carbon wouldn't look the way it does were it not for Akira. Blade Runner 2049. There's quite a bit of Akira in that visual language, I noticed upon second viewing.
Yeah, very much mixed in with the original Blade Runner aesthetic is the whole Akira look to it.
Yeah. Especially with the holograms and everything. It's a little less Blade Runner, a little more Akira, I found. So, Japanese cinema definitely had an influence on some of the visual languages we associate with Western sci-fi. And, I mean, do I even need to mention mecha?
I mean, you probably should with this episode coming out because of Pacific Rim.
Yeah, I mean, with Pacific Rim, you've basically got Gundam, which is one of the most famous mecha anime that everybody, when you show someone a giant robot, they're most likely to answer Gundam. That's just, it's the shorthand now. Even though Macross exists, Battletech was built on Macross, that's a whole different licensing deal issue. But that look of robots has also heavily influenced how Westerners interpret robots. Even in real life. Look at the stuff that Boston Dynamics are making. And some of the other robotics firms. They're all based on the looks of robots in shows like Macross, like Evangelion, like these Japanese shows and films that created the visual language of what a robot should look like. And that just bleeds into cinema. It's beautiful. Well, I spoke for a long time there.
You did indeed, and we just let you go at it.
You should not let me do that.
Episode.
You should not let me do that, because next I'll just talk about how Hayao Miyazaki is basically the reason that Disney had a renaissance.
Go on.
Good, dude.
Oh, you.
Hey, to be fair, I went on for a little bit about the...
Yeah.
I feel like, Dion, you tell us why Miyazaki is basically responsible for Disney's renaissance.
I don't know why.
Okay, well then I guess it has to be you, Marcus.
I guess it has to be me, because I just actually thought of this. Or actually...
while you're busy looking at that, Jedi actually...
While you're busy researching the thing you're going to talk about.
No. Just give me some
the name
facts, right?
Jedi actually comes from the kind of period piece in Japanese cinema that that influenced George Lucas, called the Jidai Geki.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's like, oh, that's a cool sounding word. I'm just gonna I'll hold on to it for you, like Stan Lee in the thing. I was gonna put this over here, keep it safe. Visionary director and original, completely original, out of his own brain creator, George Lucas. It's a pity because these new Star Wars movies are so derivative.
I have that is one of my ultimate pet peeves, but I try not to get into that argument. People sort of
I love Lucas just stoking that little flame of yours.
It's just like Lucas is this sort of singular visionary, and it's just.
There we go. Okay, so.
No, but he has some great ideas that he took from other people.
Yeah, he really does.
Well, good artists borrow great artists. John Cleese in his autobiography, So Anyway, he actually says, if he can give one piece of advice to aspiring comic writers, it's this: steal.
Well,
You should have
yes.
said you came up with that.
Oh no! Damn it!
So, there's no way to confirm or deny this, but Studio Ghibli may have had an influence on the Disney Renaissance.
This is a Marcus and by extension CineBeards theory.
Yeah. So when you look at Studio Ghibli's films, and at first I should probably just specify the Disney Renaissance is the period between 1989 and 1999 when Disney released 2D animated features that were on the whole critically acclaimed. There were a couple of them that were a bit iffy, but on the whole, I mean, people remember Little Mermaid, Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast. You know, all of those came out of the Disney Renaissance. My theory is that they took not exactly ideas, but took, I want to say, philosophies from Studio Ghibli. See, Studio Ghibli with two of the main directors, and I'm probably going to butcher their names, I apologize. Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata. Why did I make it a D?
I don't know, but you didn't butcher them too badly, actually.
Fantastic, thank you.
job.
They, in the period pre-Disney Renaissance, right? So we're looking between when Studio Ghibli was officially founded in 1985 up to 1989. The movies they released then were Laputa, Castle in the Sky, which was a high fantasy piece and had gorgeous animation. Grave of the Fireflies,
Which was depressing.
which is one of the most saddest and one of the most moving pieces of animated filmmaking you will ever see. And they followed that up with My Neighbor Totoro, which I don't even need to tell you about My Neighbor Totoro. It's My Neighbor Totoro. Dion has no idea. This
Not my
scares
area
me.
of interest.
And of course, in 1989, Kiki's Delivery Service, which is one of the few
Even
that
I've seen that.
Oh, what? One you seen?
Yes.
Yes.
I haven't seen that one. That's the more comedy focused.
I think so. Dion, you're the one that's seen it.
I believe that was.
I don't
the
know if it's more comedy focused than the rest. I have nothing to compare it to.
It probably is. Like Kiki's Delivery Service was the jovial, the happy, sort of more definitively aimed at kids sort of film.
More so than Tonari no Totoro?
I would say yes, more so than My Neighbor Totoro.
Okay.
And I know you use the Japanese name. It's Tonari no Totoro.
Yeah, it's easier for me to say than My Neighbor Totoro.
Really?
Yeah.
Weeb.
Weeb.
Anyway, so if you look at those films, those are what? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 4 films that vary so vastly in tone and subject matter, all coming out of one studio, all under the direction of 2 people. And I believe Disney looked at that and realized, hang on, we can do something with all these things that we have in our animation, all these classic stories. We don't have to tell them the way Walt Disney told them back in the day. We don't have to do them in sort of the way animation was done in the 70s. We can do it differently. We can make the stories more intricate. We can use different techniques. And I believe that's why the Disney Renaissance had such an impact on people, because they saw what Studio Ghibli was doing and said, you know what, maybe that style will work for us. Not one-to-one, obviously, because they don't look alike at all. But for me, it's more the influence and the philosophy of Studio Ghibli sort of infiltrating the ranks of Disney animation.
Well, since like the dawn of time, Disney's been very good at seeing other people's success and essentially improving upon the system that gave them that success. Like, Disney's very, very good at adapting successful strategies for themselves.
I think also a huge part of it, obviously not sort of derail too much, was like just the fact that they got a ton of Broadway people in, and they're just incredibly good musicals. Like, the Disney Renaissance was primarily like Broadway style musicals, and they got really, what is his name? Alan Mensch? I'm gonna butcher Menken. Anyway, like
Alan Menken,
Alan Menken, and like they got Broadway lyricists, Broadway songwriters, that sort of structure to the stories as well. And I think that was also a huge thing because it's also crowd pleasing. So I think they took that kind of philosophy and they found a way to sort of make it mass audience. Because
they took it and they improved upon it.
Yeah.
By taking good things from other stuff too.
Yeah, because that was obviously like a huge boon time for Broadway as well. The musicals, and I think they knew that was also like home, like vinyl releases for soundtracks and shit like that. Yeah. All sorts of tie-in like live shows and everything. So I think that they took that and then they're like, cool, how can we make $1 billion with it? Lots of songs. Really good songs.
Really good songs.
Really fucking good
really
songs.
Catchy songs.
Yeah. Not sound like an old fart, but like when people sort of talk about the Disney Renaissance, that's like the one thing I really miss is the like a lot of the new Disney stuff, like when they have songs they're often good, but like go just to treat yourself, go look on YouTube and look for Little Mermaid score. Like there's a thing where they take the underscoring of the film and they remove all other sounds, and you're just listening to the underscore, and almost the entire film is intricately underscored, and you barely notice it, and then how that builds subconsciously into all the incredible musical numbers. And like, if they've lost anything, that's definitely a big part of it.
I'll check that out. That sounds super interesting.
That'll blow your mind. As a musician, it really depresses me. Yeah. It's like there is more like intricacy and inventiveness in most of like that underscore that you almost never hear than like, most sort of like full-blown musical numbers these days. It's crazy.
Something else I feel we should mention here.
Yes.
What about Japanese horror?
It's usually Korean horror that takes the front seat in terms of influencing Western horror, but
it's the Japanese horror films that get incessantly remade, though.
To an extent, yeah, it's fairly split between the two.
What were The Grudge and The Ring? Were those Japanese or Korean originally?
Japanese. Those two franchises.
Yeah, those two franchises were there.
Because Hollywood loves those two.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
but
then,
also, the visual
one Missed Call was Korean,
yes,
I believe. Yeah, it's a fairly even.
It's a pretty
spread.
even split, but
What are some other Korean ones I'd know?
I'd have to pull it up for you, but
there's tons of stuff about forests. They really love horror movies set in forests.
Oh
in
God,
Korea.
no, Jesus Christ! I'm already terrified. Fuck you.
No, but the Koreans really actually do love haunted woods movies.
Oh gee, those fucking get to me. Holy shit!
You don't do the haunted forests.
I do. I love it, but then I don't sleep for a week. It's just yes, that shit terror. I can't stop.
So next spooky weekend.
Oh yes.
Just everything in
what
the
did you
forest.
say? The Ritual.
Yes,
is it good?
That's the one on Netflix.
Oh yes, that is the one that Thomas actually recommended to us.
Oh God, Jesus!
It's good. I watched it.
Is that like his next form where he becomes more powerful? God, Jesus!
I can't wait to watch it.
There's obviously a huge Japanese influence on horror movies.
And just look at the visual language, or actually, this is a good one. How the visual language of ghosts has changed post 2000. I mean, pre 2000, mostly like Western horror movie ghosts were astral, and that old trick of
non-corporeal, basically.
Non-corporeal, or like just a sheet. That, ooh, I'm a spooky ghost.
Jeez, Marcus, yo! Warner guy.
But post
worst superhero ever. Warner guy.
But post 2000, after the Ring remake, which obviously is based on a Japanese film, that sort of started the trend of having ghosts specifically tend to be feminine and tend to be corporeal, like physical form, like with shape.
Oh yeah.
Think about it. Like,
that's
think
true.
think
And I mean,
of-
The Grudge as well. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like with the spooky kid.
Yeah,
That's
The Grudge is
basically
the
just
other one.
That
that's
really
basic-
popularized kids as
That's
villains.
basically
Yeah.
just the Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Take
I mean,
that, Bruce Willis.
if you look at a lot of the Blumhouse horror films, how they sort of interpret ghosts in their ghost-centric films, it's very much based on that Japanese idea of what a ghost would look like.
Which is cool. It's a hell of a lot spookier than a non-corporeal ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And spooky children are fucking terrifying.
because that's double the spooky.
That's
Yeah.
double the spooky.
'Cause kids are already really spooky.
I mean, well, think
Like,
about
how
it.
do
What,
they exist? How is a human that small? How does it work?
I mean, think
And
about
what happens to them? The child's around for a couple of years, and you come back, it's gone.
Yeah.
And there's like an
Some
adult in its
teenager.
place. Did he do something with it?
Yeah. Oh, we cannot discuss Japanese influence on Western.
Oh shit!
cinema
Because
and
we've
film
been
and
doing
everything
that for half an hour already.
No, I mean without bringing up shit like the Power Rangers.
Oh, yes.
Like that is 100% like just ripped from Japanese culture. Weirdly enough, the biggest influence for the American version of Power Rangers was the Japanese version of Spider-Man,
Yes.
in which Spider-Man had a giant mech named Leopardon. Yeah, it followed the
Not Leopardon, Leopardon.
Leopardon. Yeah, it followed the same basic story as regular Spider-Man.
Yes.
You know, where Dr. Spider, the professor from Planet Spider, comes down and gives Tanaka his spider powers in the Spider Cave, and then he gets his cool car and Leopardon. So it's pretty much one for one the same as the Western Spider-Man. My favorite thing about that is there was a Japanese interview with Stan Lee, and the interviewer's busy speaking to him about the whole thing. He's like, "Yeah, I really like it, except I don't understand what's that car he gets into that goes and flies into the robot." And the lady's that is like, "That's Super 8. That's Spider-Man's car." Kind of like with the term like, "You invented this, how do you not even know what that is?" like, come on.
What
How,
I love...
how old is this interview though?
it's from the 70s.
Yeah, from
Oh
the
wow.
70s.
Okay, I thought maybe it's just senility.
Yeah, so very much influenced.
You mentioned Power Rangers. Okay, that's enough. That shouldn't get copyright claimed.
What's that?
Toku Sentai. It's one of the theme songs from the classic.
It's amazing.
Sort of thing. Also, another thing about Japanese Spider-Man, which is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned this to me like a couple of years back. How Marvel Comics made him canon.
Yeah, in the Spider-Verse crossover, where all the different Spider-Mans from all the different universes came together, including like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and like the current like cinematic Spider-Man
Yeah.
that was at the time, like literally the ones from the games, everything all came together to like fight this big evil. And the final blow that took down the big evil came from Leopardon.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like Japanese Spider-Man flew in there in Leopardon and it just took out the big bad. And it's
It was
beautiful.
glorious.
Holy shit.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Was this like a limited run thing?
No,
or
it was
like
it was a canon. It was a big Marvel event. Like
That
a,
was the
a
end of the
universe-wide event.
Spider-Verse or something like that.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Damn.
Ah, that was great. That for me was just, it's probably my favorite thing that's ever happened in a Marvel comic.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, so let's wrap it up with our recommendations. You know what? Go see Pacific Rim. It might not be great, but I'm sure it'll be a fun time.
Yo, I don't know, eh?
Yeah. So Dion.
Apparently, by now, circa the 20th of March,
Yes.
Jumanji is out on Blu-ray.
Oh, good. That ties into
The
last
new
week's
one.
episode with video game movies. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's
Oh, we
technically by
forgot about
Marx's
that.
definition a video game movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and I still haven't seen it. I can't believe I missed it on the IMAX, but apparently everyone just says it's surprisingly good and entertaining.
Oh, but now we've been told it's surprisingly good, so if it's good, it's just going to be
Oh,
good, but
no,
without the
it's just
surprising
good.
part.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry.
You've ruined it, Dion.
I'm really sorry.
But yeah,
Such
I
spoilers.
actually also missed that in the cinema, so I'm keen to...
Yeah, I'm actually also very surprised that it's out on Blu-ray already.
Yeah, that was quick.
That's pretty awesome. It's good for me because I missed it, so I want to see it.
Unfortunate.
Marcus, you're...
On Netflix, I was a total idiot last week, and I didn't suggest season 2 of Jessica Jones.
Oh, Marcus, but we've already watched it twice.
And if you already watched it
Who's got
twice,
time for that?
humans.
We did. All of us have
Yeah.
watched it twice.
Have you not?
Jason?
What's wrong with you, Jason?
Yeah, I watched it twice.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Seeing as,
I
but
was
if you
nearly
were waiting,
murdered there.
but if you're waiting for me to tell you to watch it, you have my permission now, I guess.
The whole internet breathes a
And-
sigh of relief.
And this Friday,
Thomas is like,
on the 23rd, you will be able to watch the second season of Santa Clarita Diet. You guys look at me like you've never heard of it before.
That's exactly how we're looking at you.
So, Drew Barrymore is a cannibal.
yeah,
Oh, I've heard this.
Yeah, but
Yes,
what's
my
the
brother's
show
telling
about?
me about it.
That's the show.
oh, is it?
Yeah, Drew
Oh, okay,
Barrymore
so it's
is
a documentary.
no, it's a situational comedy that has
If
to
only there
deal
were a
with.
shorter way of saying that.
Yeah, I wish there was. It's a situational colony.
Situational colony.
Chuamedy, yeah.
Yeah. A situational comedy about an estate agent who has, at the start of the series, somehow died and come back and now craves human flesh.
Wait, is
Wait,
this
wait.
iZombie?
You said she's a cannibal. That sounds more like a zombie, Marcus.
Yeah, this sounds like iZombie.
Well, she's technically a zombie, but she does not look like a zombie. She still looks perfectly
That's just
normal human.
profiling.
Just fucking watch it then.
And it still sounds like iZombie.
I'm just gonna stop.
Which, by the way, is really good.
Yeah, I know iZombie's pretty
It's a
good.
complete rip-off of Santa Clarita Diet, though.
Yeah, it really fucking is. Oh, they make 30 Rock references. I'll watch that show all day.
Santa Clarita Diet is pretty funny, or at least the first season was, so give the second one a shot. It's
That's not the first recommendation I've heard for it, so yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot. Cool.
pretty macabre.
Plugs, Dion.
Good one.
Marcus.
YouTube. I still have that gaming channel. Nobody watches it, but
you
yeah.
haven't got over that phase yet, have you?
No, I haven't. I'm still
It's
trying.
just a phase he's
It's
going
just a phase.
I'm still trying to be better than Markiplier.
When are you gonna get a real job, Marcus? Instead of chasing these pipe dreams. You know, we know it's sexy and you're young, but your looks aren't gonna last forever.
What are you talking about? I'm gonna live forever, Dad.
Thanks to denial.
You have to become
yes!
a dentist. Before reality sinks its teeth into you.
Oh,
You can find
Dad
us.
metaphors.
Dad of fours.
Shut up! You can find us in
The
the
four dads.
No!
A new situamedy.